Hello, James here. Just going to talk generally about things tonight. Do you remember, probably when you were a child, you might have come out with something to which, in disbelief, your parents said, "Where are your brains?" And it's funny, really, because we've got a lot of sayings where it seems to be the case that there is nothing new under the sun, and where are your brains is one of them, because we don't just have one brain, we do have three brains, in fact. You've got your one that everybody knows. Oh, talking of which, at the side here, they're known as temples. Strange coincidence, perhaps. Below, or right at the base of your brain, you have a pineal gland. That is your second brain. And your third brain is the heart brain. Three. So I'd put that out there. Now, we're encouraged to look up, to look out, to look to other people for answers. But you know, that's looking in completely the wrong place. Do you know where the answers are to everything? Within ourselves. Now, very cleverly, not one of us can access all these answers. It relies on 2, 3, maybe more people all getting together. And between you, you can unlock these answers. In terms of spirituality, you're opening your mind. And even in that saying, it's true, you're not just opening your mind, you're opening a gateway to perhaps your higher self or higher consciousness. Case in point was today. Within the last week, I was thinking to myself, a friend of mine vanished from Facebook. Don't know what happened to him. And today, or yesterday rather, I got a message from this guy. And he started asking me questions about twin flames and things. And I thought, yeah, maybe coincidence that I thought of him, and he's then messaged me. And he was telling me about a number sequence and various other little pointers, and asked what should he do. And I said, well, you're getting all these clues, so just go for it. What's the thing that's holding you back? You see, what stops us doing a lot of things is fear. Fear of what other people think, what we wear. People will normally dress because they're thinking, ooh, can I go out in that? Wonder what people will think of me. Well, I'd say to that, just wear what makes you feel happy. If you feel confident in yourself, you're going to radiate out that confidence, and it will spread to other people. Simple as that, really. There's a magnetics that goes on. Another little interesting thing, when you vote, you go to the polls. Now, people say language is evolving. I disagree with that. So if I go back to the 19th century in Sussex, it would be quite normal to hear sayings like "Vot is dat." But like all the dialects around England, the Welsh language, well, they've basically tried to annihilate that one, and good on Welsh people for maintaining that language. Another strange coincidence, I recently came across a group called Highland, which is Danish, and I thought, I actually asked on Facebook, does anybody know what this language is that they're singing in? All sounds very tribal, the music. And it turns out what they're actually singing is in Old English, Old German, Old Danish, the old Scandinavian languages, preserving our heritage from when Europeans were tribes. And this is another repeat pattern I'm seeing. When you look at the tribes in the Americas, what's being done to them is absolutely disgusting. Not allowing them to vote. It's absolutely crazy. They're basically going through the same process that we've gone through in Europe. There's a lot of things that are being destroyed, seems to be on purpose. Now, something else very interesting as well. Flat Earth. I don't know whether it's flat or not. I don't think I'm in any danger of falling off an edge for a start. Not allowed to go anywhere near where there's perceived edges anyway. But when you consider the budget that NASA has, the billions and billions of dollars, where is that money coming from? And do you not think that that money could actually be spent a lot better to sort out all the problems in this world? We've got a situation now where we're seeing about this or that species of animal is going extinct. You've got a problem with marine life, particularly on the Florida coast, even up to 5 miles out. You're getting manatees found dead in the water. You've got poachers being given permits to hunt animals that are endangered. We've got a problem with these chemtrails. I'm sorry, but whatever they are certainly not natural cloud formations. We've got a problem with this 5G network. That is military grade electromagnetic fields. There's been a case in Gateshead which is also highlighting how corrupt their council is, and this again is a repeat pattern. Today's newspaper. Stagecoach and Virgin's 52.1 million rail dividend condemned. They pulled out of this franchise. They've been paid off a substantial sum. And it's amazing. You look at things, apparently worldwide, there is a worldwide combined national debt. But who is this money owed to? I've said all along, treat everything as a crime scene and follow the money trail. And you'll get the motive, and you'll find out what is behind a lot of this. You know, this country's the United Kingdom, 4 countries that make up the United Kingdom. Our national debt goes back to the time of Oliver Cromwell. Germany finished paying World War I reparations in 2010, I believe. Just think how much interest is being charged on the original loan. Basically, all these governments are doing are spending way beyond their means with money that they have taken from ordinary people out of your taxes, which you don't have any control over. And they are flitting it away and mismanaging it. They are spending way beyond the money they can raise from taxes. And who at the end of the day is having to pay for this? This again is a repeat pattern. Time after time after time. It's ordinary people that have to pay for everything. It's about time we started standing up and saying no to all of this, and not just humanity. Let's think about all the animals, the trees, the plants, the insects, the birds. Where's their voice? Now, it doesn't really matter what shape the world is. One thing is certainly clear. It's the only one we've got to live on. if we don't start looking after it, and I mean looking after it, because when you look at these music festivals and these celebrations that go on, just look at the rubbish that is being left home. I mean, when I was younger, we were told to take our rubbish home with us, not just leave it. If the bin's overflowing already, what is the point of just discarding it? And as I've found out in this garden, after 30 years, the previous people who lived here just seemed to dump plastic down the bottom of the garden. In 30 years, there is absolutely no sign of that plastic breaking down. If we don't start making a stand soon and actually doing something, we're not going to have a world left to live in. Not us, not any other creatures living on this planet, not any of the plants, not any of the trees. See, I looked into my family history a few years ago. I spent, 12, 14 years looking at it. And I thought, whatever my ancestors did, whether I agree with it or not, I wouldn't be here if they hadn't done what they'd done. So I'm not thinking about just my children or my grandchildren or great-grandchildren. I'm thinking 9, 10, 11, 12 generations into the future. I think this is something we all need to ask ourselves. What we do today is going to have an impact on the future. Now, amongst those that are going through this spiritual awakening, there is a mindset that we will ascend from 3 dimensions to 5 dimensions. Maybe. But seeing how everything else seems to be connected, surely the 3-dimensional world, or this 3-dimensional reality we're in, is also connected. So yes, I would say it's very important to consider what we do. Now, I'm not saying that you go out there and get yourself arrested, but there are things we can do. I've said this before, and I think it needs reiterating. See, the biggest stumbling block and what this control system relies on is us arguing amongst ourselves instead of dealing and focusing on the real problems that affect us all. Never mind whether somebody's a Democrat or a Republican, Conservative or Labour or whatever, because the pattern seems to be the same. Those at the top make the laws to protect themselves, the rest of us pay for it, and we suffer for it. Why are we spending all this money on militarisation or allegedly exploring space, going to Mars? Well, I'm sorry, with the track record we've got with looking after this planet, what are we going to do? Destroy another one? Or perhaps mankind has already been to the moon and that's the result. Because the future looks very bleak the way it is, the way it's heading at the moment, unless we actually start doing something about it. Now, there are ways we can do something about it. In small communities, and it's very easy. None of us actually have to get arrested or get ourselves in trouble. What we can do is stand together, and we can start saying to one supermarket or another one, we're not happy with the packaging. Certainly if they've got that wretched Roundup weed killer that Monsanto has been caught out for now. We should be writing to these store managers and saying, we are not buying from your store until you do something about it. At the end of the day, all these supermarkets have shareholders. Their primary objective is to make money for those shareholders. You might seem like you're getting bargains, but what you get cheaper in one shop one week, their rivals will offer you cheaper the next week. If you look at the pattern with, say for example, coffee, you'll find there's a repeat pattern with where they're buying in bulk, then they've got too much of it, so they're selling it off at probably what is a fairer price. So instead of paying $7.99, you're being charged, or you've got it on offer for $4.99. So buy it when it's $4.99. Don't pay the full price. Don't fall for all their rubbish. And we need to start saying, look, there's a serious problem with this plastic. If you don't start doing something about this packaging, we're not shopping here. It only takes one supermarket to wake up and say, hey, we're losing customers here. And then we're forcing a change in a way that nobody will get in trouble. I can't come up with any other solutions to problems. I'm hoping that these videos are going to inspire other people. I mean, let's all get our thinking caps on and come up with some ideas. Let's come up with some positive solutions. This is what people want. They want answers. They want solutions. Well, let's all start thinking. Let's come up with those solutions between us. Talk to each other. This is the answer. By talking to each other, we can achieve a lot. I don't know what the world population is. By some incredible, I don't know what the word is for it. It said that we were 1 billion worldwide population 100 years ago, and despite having 2 world wars and various other things in between, plus all the other things, all the other conflicts that have gone in the world, that we've now suddenly magically in 100 years we've grown to between 7 and 8 billion people. I find that very hard to believe, really. I don't know what the true figure is. I found there's a lot of things I'm really starting to question now. We're told over and over the ages of things, and there's a process called carbon dating. Well, very strange with this carbon dating is that nobody can tell you what the rate of carbon deterioration is. So it calls into question, how reliable are these dates? It has been shown that within one generation, through controlled education, that the way people think can be changed. So anything can be rewritten. I mean, how many people back in 2001 believed that it was terrorists who had done aircraft training and then somehow managed to be able to fly 747s into buildings? I'm talking about the Twin Towers, obviously. I remember where I was working at the time, the Monday morning after that had happened, there was 2 of us who went into work. Everybody else was sitting there, they'd read the tabloid newspapers, they'd listened to the tell-lie vision. Because it's marvellous, isn't it? Nothing bigger than half a telephone keypad found, and yet by some miracle the passports are found with the names of these terrorists on. But if you start looking a little bit into this, you'll find that the Twin Towers changed hands, and there were certain people made an absolute fortune off the insurance from it. I think that should give some of you a bit of a clue as to what really is going on. Because if they can lie about that, when you think about New York Fire Department, how many firefighters lost their lives to try and save other people's lives? Incidentally, these people that are said to have died in these towers, there's no death records for them. It also transpires that half those floors in those towers were never finished. Does make you wonder, doesn't it? What is the truth? I can't tell you because I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I do compare things. See, I'm not bothered if I'm called a conspiracy theorist. It's also said that it's been turned into a joke because ridicule is always the first line of attack. Oh, you've seen it on social media, so it must be true. Oh, how do you know whether it's true or not? Well, a lot of these things on social media have links to other things that then give you factual information. Some information you can verify, some you can't. You just have to look at various things. I'll give you another example. I happened to be watching a program on YouTube about the Antarctic. Nothing to do with a conspiracy theory, but I thought, okay, let's give this a go. And right towards the end of the program, the commentary said, oh, we had to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning for the sun to come up before it was light enough to do the filming. Okay, fair enough. But when you consider it's in the January of that year, wait a minute, aren't they supposed to have 24 hours of daylight at that time of year? That's what we're all told, and yet on this film, these people have clearly stated that they've had to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning for the sun to come up. So this is the thing with conspiracy theories. They're not things being dreamt up by people who've got some ulterior motive. It's simply looking at one bit of information you're given, mainstream information I'm talking about, and then you're given another bit of mainstream information, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, this doesn't tally with this. Another example I'll give you. A guy in Australia, he notices that there should be 24-hour shadows around flagpoles on the Antarctic. But there's 8 to 10 hours of film footage missing. So he writes to the Australian Antarctic Exploration Department, ask them for an answer. They reply and tell him that they send all their footage, it all goes over to the United States, talk to them. So he asks the same question. The reply he got is absolutely ludicrous. Their reply was, the film footage is expensive, so when it's in darkness, they don't want to waste film showing darkness. I thought 2 to 3 months of the year they had 24 hours of daylight. None of us can go to the Antarctic to verify this, of course. The other thing from the conspiracy side, we don't have massive government budgets to investigate these things. We can only do things with very limited amounts of money. So that's something else worth thinking about. Just a few ideas I want to put out there. I'd say if you want to find the answers, we need to start looking within, and we need to start talking to each other. And etymology is another good one. I touched on this earlier when I said about when you go to vote, you go to the polls. So what else can we come up with? We can have the tell-lie vision. We can have the re-lie of the jinn, religion, is another one. What about the soul? How many souls are there? You can have a soul trader, you can have a soul, you've got souls on your feet. You've also got the sun in the sky. S-O-N or S-U-N? Which is it? Lots of little things, if you start looking at the words and the breakdown of the words, it comes a point where it no longer becomes a coincidence. It becomes a series of unanswered or unsatisfactory answers to questions. I suppose that's what a conspiracy theory is, because we're not getting satisfactory answers to what are straightforward questions. Now, one man I have a lot of respect and admiration for is Jordan Maxwell, who's been looking into religion in particular since 1959. And something he's mentioned, which is rather interesting, is about admiralty law in a court. And as he says, what is a court? Something you play tennis on. And you play it with a racket. Yeah. And it's funny, if you're the accused, you go into the dock. I'm not saying anything new, I'm just reiterating what he says, but I would recommend